Almost 43 dangerous criminals were being deported back to South Korea. They escaped to the Philippines several years ago, but now they are in the hands of Korean police after much struggle and fighting. Massive social media anchors gather at the airport to cover the latest footage of these criminals. A suicide bomber is hiding in the crowd, and when he sees the criminal who killed his family, he goes crazy. He jumps ahead and presses the bombing device. A massive explosion destroys most of the people out there. The airport is covered in blood, and broken limbs of men, women, and children are seen everywhere. Almost 7 police officers are killed, and numerous are poorly injured. Several criminals escape. After a few years, in 2022, the Korean police again built a team of highly trained escorts for the secret invasion of criminals through the frontier to in. They don't trust the security of airplanes or other traveling modes, so they ensure all the security checkpoints before departure. Jung-do, the most deadly and arrogant criminal of the time, teases the senior police officer. He smashes him like an ant, but Jung-do is still stubborn and arrogant. Hence, they set out on their journey. A doctor and a nurse will accompany them on the trip. On the other hand, the commando team invades the border security controlling room and takes charge of everything personally. They are anxious about the year's biggest project because they are about to depart the country's most dangerous criminals. The commando leader takes command of everything and gives them 10 minutes to prepare the setup. The project wolf hunting is mentioned. In the next scene, they are put into chains in their respective compartments, and numerous well-trained police officers are included in the crew to keep an eye on them. Jung-do raped and killed 13 people. Do So-hwa is another criminal in the same room guilty of several atrocities, and his name is on the Interpol Red List. Choi Myung-jo is a female criminal accused of killing her husband and in-laws. She is under the surveillance of a female police officer. The senior police officer commands everyone to keep an eye on the criminal 24/7. The journey will take place almost 3 days from the Philippines to Korea. They'll get 2 meals daily, 1 bathroom, and no teeth brushing. In the meantime, the Central Commando team has already taken charge of the ship. The scene changes to a doctor who has brought some suspicious tools with him. His behaviors are strange and suspicious. The scene changes to the ship's kitchen, where hired cooks prepare meals. They're annoyed about cooking for the criminals and serving them. Senior police officers motivate them to bear all this for a few days. The doctor enters flabbergasted and rushes out instantly. He seems to be behind a secret mission. The crew distributes the meals to criminals. In the meantime, a uniformed crew member steps in and breaks the door latch without being noticed. He is actually his friend of Jung-do and sneaks into the ship to help him escape. The doctor finds a random man in a basement between the engines and machines. He finds a nearly dead man in an oxygen box lying unconscious. This man is called Alpha and is covered in blood, with ants crawling around his body. It looks terrific. He injects some serums into his body. The scene changes to the Central Commando team, where they are tracking the ship's movements closely. Also, they notice a rainstorm after several kilometers. The leader of the commando team receives the compiled documents related to Alpha, which reveal that he was a member of the Korean army a few years back. He is curious about Alpha. Hence, the ship is touching the international waters of Titano. On the other hand, the police officers are playing, talking, and eating to pass the time. At the same time, Jung-do plays a trick and spits out an iron pin from his mouth. He has been holding the hook since the start and finding the right time to open the handcraft. He gets the chance and starts pinning it out. In addition, the escape plan of his friends has already been executed. His friends killed the real cook of the ship and replaced them. Jung-do plants the plan of escape from the very beginning. They recall a previous scene when they snatched the cook's passports and stabbed them brutally. They sneak into the kitchen and take their places. Jung-do opens its handcraft and behaves like he is still fettered. He passes the pin to Do So-hwa so that he can also free himself. In the meantime, his friends sneak into the corridor and greet the crew members. Suddenly, they take out their weapons and stab them brutally. A sharp blade has punctured the shoulder of a police officer so severely that a sprout of blood pops out of it. Likewise, they kill all crew members and put their corpses into a storeroom. The drainage pipe of the storeroom leaked, and the blood started dripping out of it. After clearing the corridor, they stepped out to the pilots and killed them, sparing the lives of only 2. They saved them for driving the ship. They turn on the roof light and break all ship communications to the outer security teams or monitoring departments. The communication between the commando team and the ship has been cut off. They have sensed something suspicious, but the commando leader asks them to initiate countermeasures immediately. They are trying to reach them but can't. The lady officer, nurse, and 2 female criminals are in the same room. The lady officer notices the signal has been shut down, so she moves out to check. In an instant, Du So-hwa unlatches the handcraft finally. A police officer comes in to check on them, and he bashes him on the head. Jong-do suffocates him from behind and bites his neck. Meanwhile, Du So-hwa slashes his head with the handcraft brutally. Jung-do's friends step in and shoot the other police officers dead, slit their throats, and kill them in every way they can. They stab the knife into the throat of another police officer. He greets his friends and takes the knife, although he spares the life of Du So-hwa. The commando team has gone crazy because they are unable to connect with the ship. The leader is furious at the situation and suggests communicating with Japanese and Chinese agencies to track the ship. However, all signals and even satellite images can't be tracked. Jung-do finds a police officer sobbing in pain, so he stabs the knife at his heart. Then he pisses him off to fulfill his vengeful desires. The lady police officer finds the doctor coming upstairs from a hidden pathway, so she thinks he has all these connectivity problems. But the senior officer scolds her, and they move to find the actual situation. In the meantime, they find a man with an axe coming out of the roof. They follow him secretively. On the other hand, all criminals are set free one by one, and Du So-hwa advises Jung-do to go direct to Korea and live a peaceful life. Otherwise, they'll not spare his life, but he won't take his advice seriously. The Axeman hides in a room where the senior officer and some crew members follow him. After opening the room, the Axeman attacks them, but he rescues them. An incredible fight with shotguns starts, and both parties shoot at each other unstoppable. Jung-do gathers the criminals who want to accompany him and prepares his team to take him off the ship. Du So-hwa recalls a past event when a police officer killed his wife. He is here to take revenge. He deliberately put his name on the list of criminals. Alternatively, the Axeman and senior officers fight after refilling their guns. Jong-do's friend points a gun at the pilots' heads and blackmails them into surrendering. They drop their weapons and raise their hands. The lady officer jumps to the Axeman and fails his gun. He lost control, and the senior officer shot him dead. The pilot is free but still in shock. He informs the lady officer to approach the satellite phone in the engine room for help. Luckily, the doctor makes his way to the room and informs the nurse about the gunfire, but she is busy eating pizza and beer. However, she is fearless and not taking anything seriously, so she wants to go out. The doctor is so scared and locks himself in the room. The scene changes to Alpha, where the drainage pipes are leaking and pouring blood drops at him. Instead of heavy doses of anesthesia, his hands move, and he wakes up. In the meantime, Jung-do reaches the engine room and kills 2 more crew members by smashing their heads with a knife. They are here to get the satellite phone and destroy it. They completely destroy the engine room to interrupt any communication with the commando team. The seniors come in contact with some juniors who find them by chance and lead them to the search engine to find the satellite phone. However, they don't know that Jong-do is already there, killing their crew members. Jong-do is about to kill the chief engineer, but Du So-hwa stops him by holding his hand. In the meantime, the crew members reach there and start firing. One of the criminals tries to rescue him, but Jong-do and his team shoot him several times. He is dead at the stairs. An open fight arises between them. They have different weapons and start killing each other without realizing whether they are doing it right or not. One of them runs to hide somewhere else, but he bumps into the Alpha, who has just jumped from the oxygen box alive. He is so potent that his one kick blows the criminal, and he smashes to machine and dies. Then he approaches other criminals and kills them one by one. His vision is not clear because his eyes are stitched. Although, his sense of smell is so strong that he can sniff blood from a distance. His fingers can rip off the body parts of a human, and he slits the throat with one finger. Jong-do tries to smash his head with an axe, but Alpha throws him on a machine and then rips his head with the axe. Du So-hwa is the only one who can stand a little bit against him. They both seem to have the same powers. However, he is still winning the fight. The senior officer is injured poorly. The lady officer rescues Du So-hwa and successfully finds an exit. Du So-hwa notices a number imprinted on Alpha's shoulder, which seems disturbing. On the other hand, the commando team finally finds an image of the ship that ensures it is not sinking. The commando leader enlarges the image and finds blood spots all over there. He is so furious, which seems disturbing. On the other hand, the commando team finally finds an image of the ship that ensures it is not sinking. The commando leader enlarges the image and finds blood spots all over there. He is so furious that the criminals are doing evil on the ship, and his best police squad can't do anything. The commando leader gets a phone call from an arrogant and annoyed unknown officer. He commands him to go to the ship and find Alpha at any cost. He is just concerned about Alpha. Also, his shoulder is imprinted with the same number type as Alpha. The commando leader seems to hold mysterious powers as his left eye turns blue. In the meantime, one of the lady officers is in chains, and the two lady criminals are enjoying nail art. The escaped criminals approach them. It is pouring outside, and two pilots rush up to the ship's roof and try to activate a signal, but they both are killed by Alpha. The nurse notices a tappet outside and wakes up the doctor sleeping on a chair. She steps ahead to see out and finds the tugboat hanging down. Suddenly, Alpha breaks the glass window and scratches her neck. The doctor rushes outside, finds the senior officer, and cries for help. The senior officer notices some hidden truth and forces the doctor to spit it out. He finally reveals that the authority gave him a lot of money to inject Alpha anesthesia every 6 hours. In addition, he used to inject some vitamins into his body. The lady officer with Du So-hwa rushes to the basement to find something about it, and the senior officer runs towards Alpha to kill him. In the next scene, Alpha reaches the criminals and punctures the face of one of them. He steps on his face, and the skull is ruptured. He thrashes the other one and slashes into the door and dies. He stabs the knife at the face of the lady officer, slits the legs of another one, and kills another one just by hitting her against the wall. The scene switches to the past, where Alpha was confiscated by the Japanese army, who performed experiments on him. Their project called Superhuman involved injecting serums into a human to make him immortal and highly potent. They were successful in their investigation, but unfortunately, Alpha killed them all. The scene changes to the present, where the leader commando accumulates a team of elite fighters who inject serums into their bodies. They want to get the powers equivalent to Alpha and step onto the ship to find him. The lady criminal cries for help, but the leader commando kills her because he is just interested in getting Alpha back. The leader commando finds Du So-hwa and others and kills all of them except him. The leader commando has some past relationships with him. The scene switches to the past, revealing that Du So-hwa was also used in an experiment to create a superhuman. The leader commando and the unknown officer were leading the project, and they thought all their experimenters were dead. Also, they believed that they failed the experiment. Basically, the project was called wolf hunting. Du So-hwa was alive, but they didn't know. Du So-hwa escapes the secret team long ago and hides his identity. After a few years, the leader commando learned about the Du So-hwa family and his revival. He found his house and killed his wife. Now Du So-hwa presented himself as a criminal just to travel to Korea so that he could take revenge for his family's death. In the meantime, Alpha comes in, and an incredible fight occurs between them. They all possess powers, but the commando leader seems more potent than the others. This is because he just injected his body with serums. Finally, the leader commando killed Alpha and jumped into the water, Du So-hwa following him. On the other hand, the unknown officer meets a young boy who is actually the son of Du So-hwa. He is the only kid who doesn't need any serums to experience the powers of a superhuman. So they rescue him by considering him an asset for themselves and to experiment further. In the last scene, Du So-hwa gets out of the water and promises to take revenge on the secret team of the unknown officer and his team. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching.